Is basically very similar to any other show, but for the size of the stage, which is stretched from yards to miles. The increased speed of movement and demand for accuracy and skill of the performers is probably the highest in show business. Without any rush, the actors come onto the vast stage. The producer is confident as usual that he will be able to control the actors, even when they are a few miles away. The costumes are shining and well cut, but often they have the need for last-minute adjustments. As the beginning of the show approaches, the flickering light is probably the only sign of excitement. The rest is just a routine check. The orchestration of the show is definitely not for the music connoisseurs, but the sound of engine changing from a whisper to the roar of thunder gives a good impression of the enormous power generated in a short time from 0 to thousands of pounds thrust. Using imagination, the spectators could see the curtain being raised and the air show commences. Aerobatic spine aircraft powered by the piston engine is accompanied by its coughing and spluttering, where the jet engine almost gives an impression of effortless performance. Of a glider, aerobatics is probably the most difficult to perform because the pilot must dive his machine to gain speed required for a particular aerobatic figure. This aeroplane, with its delta wing, is an experimental aircraft used for aerodynamic tests for the Concorde project, and it is really a miniature version of the great liner which we'll be able to see this year. P-1127 is the world's first operational aircraft designed for vertical takeoff and landing. It is powered by a single Bristol Siddeley engine, a Pegasus turbofan of approximately 15,000 pound thrust, giving a maximum speed slightly below Mach 1, the speed of sound. As the total aircraft weight is less than the thrust developed by the engine, the aircraft is capable of vertical takeoff. Once the aircraft is airborne, the jet nozzles, 2 on each side of the fuselage, are gradually rotated by 90 degrees until all the thrust is being used for forward or reverse flights. The Belgian Air Force aerobatic team, the Red Devils, started the series of aerobatic displays by teams from United States, France and the Royal Air Force and the Fleet Air Arm. They are flying the French-designed Fouja Majestés, which is a conventional jet trainer with the characteristic V-shaped tail controls. Layman shots of the Belgian Air Force flying a purpose-built SV-4Bs are showing an enormous skill and accuracy in handling their aircraft in most unusual positions. Probably the penguin insignia on the fin of the aircraft symbolizes the grace of the movement for which this bird is famous. In the water, of course. North American F-100 Super Sabre, the oldest stage of the United States Air Force, is powered by a Pratt & Whitney turbojet rated at 12,000 pounds thrust. It is capable of flying at supersonic speed of Mach 1.3, although we will be able to see the slow tail waggle flight. La Patrie de France. The French Air Force, with its official aerobatic team of Fouga Magistes, is giving a faultless display of formation loops, rolls, bomb bursts, and a very spectacular curtain raiser. The Chipmunk, the basic trainer of the Royal Air Force and a favourite trainer of the royalties, is followed by the English Electric Lightning, the first British combat aircraft with supersonic performance. The Lightning has been in service with the Royal Air Force Fighter Command since 1960. The Fleet Air Arm, represented by the formation of Sea Vixens, an all-weather carrier-borne fighter and a sinister-looking buccaneer, which was especially designed for low-level strike, air-to-ground rocket attacks, long-range photographic reconnaissance, maritime search, and as a refueling tanker. But the highlight of every air show are the Red Arrows, the high-speed formation aerobatic team, representing the Royal Air Force and flying the Hawker Siddeley Fallen Gnat aircraft. The wingspan of this small aircraft is only 24 feet, and it is powered by a Bristol Siddeley Orpheus turbojet engine, giving a supersonic speed of Mach 0.95. The leader of the Red Arrows, Squadron Leader Hannah, gives some behind-the-scene information. The team drawn from the ranks of Flying Training Command start their intensive training in February, approximately 4 months before the show season. Throughout this month, 3 or 4 sorties per day are being flown, building experience and familiarizing the pilots with their respective position and formation. Initially, small formations are flown, but as experience is gained, more aircraft are added to the basic formation until the final number is achieved. Basic maneuvers are practiced to perfection, and by now the pilots can accept minor changes and the technique of the finesse is learnt. This finesse technique is the most difficult to learn because of the acceptance of movements of the next aircraft without a reaction. It is foreign to the natural instincts of self-preservation. The technique requires complete trust, and once achieved, allows very large numbers of aircraft to formate accurately. The pilots accept that from the start to the landing, they are just a part of the large formation, completely controlled by the leader, in whom they have complete faith. They must also have complete trust in one another. There is little margin for error. The leader maintains a running commentary of his intentions, for instance looping or rolling, and gives orders on changes in formation, smoke operation, and is in contact with the ground controllers. The leader is flying as smoothly as he can and literally flies the whole team as one. Regardless of their position in space, the formating pilots hang on. Unlike a car, an aircraft can move around its lateral axis, that is, nose up and down, as well as about its longitudinal axis, that is, rolling. So the entire process demands the highest degree of concentration and coordination. The display sequence remains basically unaltered throughout the season, although refinements and modifications are always being considered. Alternative displays have been developed for restricted and bad weather conditions. The remainder of the team, the ground crew, are trained to work as a team to ensure that the aircraft are kept in peak condition at all times. Previous experience indicates that for every 5 days flying, almost 2 days' work are necessary on the aircraft. The famous aircraft of the 30s is the Swordfish, which, as old as she was, she took part in a few successful sorties against the German Navy during the last war. We look at this aircraft, the Spitfire, which during the Battle of Britain was the backbone of the fighter command. Probably it is right to conclude the air show at this famous airfield, Biggin Hill, with equally famous aircraft, the Spitfire. It is from this station in September 1940 the Hurricanes and the Spitfires scrambled into the air, having above them the blue sky, around them the white clouds, and below the friendly fields of Sussex and Kent.